is Tom, aka Jedon, here for Tabletop Taproom and Star Frontiers Gamer. Today we are talking about setting up a solo Star Frontiers game. Actually, two reasons for this. One, because I recently heard I've been researching solo gaming, but I also recently heard Eric Tenkar say that he was going to be doing some videos on solo games, and I thought, oh, he's going to upstage me. It's going to look like I'm copying him. So I just figured it was a poop or get off the pot kind of thing. And so I've actually been checking out, you Google on YouTube for solo RPG, plenty of videos. I'm going to spotlight about 5 of them, which seem to have pretty good advice. Each one a little bit different than the next. So I liked them. I took notes on them. And then I'm going to go into what I would do to set up a Star Frontiers game. Follow-on videos, we're going to test out methods of running a solo RPG with an Oracle. And an Oracle is a particular thing used in solo gaming. It's basically a means by which you can generate a yes or no answer. It's basically like a magic 8-ball. You could ask it questions and then it answers you. And there's one very popular Oracle that everybody seems to recommend, and that's the Mythic GM Emulator Oracle, which I have ordered off of drive-thru as both a PDF and a print on demand. So I'm waiting for my print on demand to show up here at the house. But before we do any of that, let's just do the obligatory thank you for watching the video. Thanks to my subscribers. You guys are great. And if you have not subscribed, please do hit the like, subscribe, and bell icon and help me build the channel. And now that that's out of the way, let's get to the video. So, solo gaming. Why solo game Star Frontiers? Well, I have heard somewhat, not all the time, but I have heard people say, no gamers, there's no players in my area. Yeah, that's a problem. I get it. We're talking about a 30, 40-year out-of-print RPG that has not had the love it deserves from the company that owns the IP. So, solo gaming should be an option, but I don't hear about a lot of solo gaming going on with Star Frontier, so I thought I would investigate it. Part of that investigation was checking it out on YouTube as far as solo RPGs. So this video was from a Dungeon Dive. It's 5+1 tips for starting a solo RPG. And it's the parentheses here, Solo RPG Friday. It's a pretty good video. Then we had how to play your first solo RPG. 3 tips for playing a solo RPG, playing a solo role-playing game. And this is from Paper Dice Games. Paper Dice Games. Pretty straightforward video. This is solo role-playing tutorial from Tutorial, and it's Oracles and Conjecture, Adventures in Solitaire. Now, I want to say concerning this video is the most different from the other 5. And he kind of showed some sort of an Oracle system that I really did not catch the name for, but it was about generating words. So, I mean, he did mention the Mythic GM Emulator, but he was doing a lot of generating of words, theme words, action words. And so you would roll on these tables to generate words. And he said, if these 4 don't give you anything, keep rolling. And so you keep adding more words. And then suddenly, as you have enough words there, that something emerges out of them. And it was different. I don't know if that's the system for me. And I'm not even sure what the name of that product is that I could go look it up. But it definitely was a different style of generating stuff, generating content for your solo RPG. But again, this is a good video. And then we have how to play a solo RPG, a solo tabletop RPG, the complete step-by-step tutorial for beginners. This is from Woodland Fellowship. And then 9 tips for solo RPGs from me, myself, and Die. I love that name. That's a good name. So if I can boil down the advice into a few things. Now, there was a lot of advice in these 5 videos, but if I can boil it down to things that seem to intersect. Choose an RPG that you like and you know. So if you don't really know Star Frontiers, but you know Traveler, I would use Traveler rules. You could still use the Star Frontier setting if you like. If you know Savage Worlds, then I would use Savage World rules. Because one of the pieces of advice was absolutely follow the rules mechanics. Absolutely stick to them. But be loose with story elements. So you can be loose with the story elements, but you must absolutely stick to what the dice roll, what the rules say, what the rules do. And I think, yeah, this is good advice. So you want to know the system. You want to have a good grasp of the system, because what you don't want to be doing is flipping through the rule books. And so my system, my go-to system generally is Star Frontiers. I'm going to go to Star Frontiers. So I will be using the Star Frontiers rules. With some modifications. There's some modifications on the player characters. And then, so you start with the a system that you know. Your next thing is you want to start small. One piece of advice was 1 to 2 hexes. And yeah, I think 1 to 2 hexes. What I'm going to be doing is limiting my start to 1 planet. 1 planet in 1 system, and I will set up those parameters to be, this is where we're focusing. I will be focusing on Tazan in the Crixia star system in the Rim. And the reason I'm doing this is because, 1, I want to create some new Rim material, number 1, and explore the Rim a little bit. But 2, Tazan is going to be very familiar to players, because I'm hoping to develop maybe a play-by-post game at some point here in the future. And Tazan, I happen to notice, has the exact same gravity and the exact same number of hours in a day as the planet Gran Quivera, where Port Lauren is located. So this gives it some familiarity to players. It's already a familiar environment by default. The other inhabitable planet in that Crixia system is Paikanar. Paikanar has a 0.5 gravity and 12-hour day. So it's going to be a little more alien. And so I want to go with Tazan. And orbiting Tazan is Crixia Station. I've named it Crixia Station. Crixia Trade Station. It is a trade station. It orbits the outer inhabitable planet. So ships coming in will come to the trade station, the transship cargo. Crixia, I will go more into Crixia in a little bit. So we're starting small. We're limiting it to just Tazan. You don't want to bog down with so many tables. Now, I'm about to show you a bunch of random number generators, and from that I generated some lists of names and list of company names and list of character names, list of jobs. And I think the advice here about not having too many tables present was not about getting into paralysis where you're stuck just trying to figure out what's happening through the random tables. And I think that's very good advice. But I also think you should, generate. I'm going to be generating lists of names that are Ishnit names, Osaka names, Huma names, Bunsha names. Bunsha is the player character race introduced, I think, in Star Frontiersman #2. #2 or #5, one of those. #2, I think it's #2. And the Bunsha, I have decided, evolved on Hum alongside the Huma, because there's a statement in the Huma's species description that says their history is steeped in interspecies war. That doesn't make any sense if it's just that they've had war with the Ishnits since they've encountered the Ishnits. It makes sense if there's been another species on their planet for them to war with. And I feel like the art that we have for the Bunsha, their face comes close to matching the face of the Huma. And I just, so I've just kind of arbitrarily, not so arbitrarily, they have a tail, 2 legs, 2 arms, very much like the Huma, slightly different body construction. And I just feel like they're a good match. They're a minor race. They've been hounded to almost extinction by the Huma. They've been forced into preserves. I did not call them reservations because we don't want to go too close to American Indians, but they are a minor race. They've been hounded by the Huma. They've been pushed out. A lot of them live on the 3rd inhabitable planet in the Fulcric system. So they're like 1%, 2% of the overall population in the whole rim, basically. So that's the core for the rim. And my game is going to be set in a time prior to first contact with the UPF. So it's rim only and Volturnus. And I've got some very definite ideas concerning the setting, and I'm limiting myself to just the Crixia system for right now. Story elements. Story elements can be very loose. You can have a lot of flexibility with story elements. If something's not working, change it. One piece of advice is if you're stuck, cheat. As GMs, we cheat all the time. But then another YouTuber said, don't cheat on the rules. Absolutely honor the rules, but you can cheat on the story elements. So yeah, there's that. Then you want to journal. You want to write down what happens. One, so you can keep track of it. You don't get lost. But 2, as you journal, not that you write what happens, so it feels like a story you're reading, but that you journal so it feels like an adventure that's happening to you, is one of the tools, according to one of these YouTubers, that really helps keep you going, keeps the game going. And so journaling. Now, I have some definite ideas about how to go about that because of what's going to happen in the next video, but we'll talk about that then. So journal. You want to keep a journal. You want to keep a log of what happened. I think twice it was suggested that you could record it like a captain's log, like in Star Trek, captain's log. And so that definitely seems like a very doable and a very good piece of advice. You're going to need a little bit of support for running this, and donjon .bin.sh. I don't know who does this, but when I first found these in the early mid 2000s, there were fewer tools. So this site has just grown and expanded. In fact, back then it was D&D 3.5, and as you watch here, we've got fantasy tools, general tools, AD&D, D20 fantasy, Micro Light 20, Pathfinder tools, D&D 4E, 5E. These things didn't even exist back then. Weird fiction, science fiction. We're looking for the science fiction. What surprised me was these Alien RPG tools and Blade Runner. And I love this idea right here, this generator, this job generation. It's a shipping solicitation. Um, and it looks like a contract, like a job slip. I think this is absolutely fabulous. So I'm going to be coming back to look at this some more and see about using this. But primarily, we're interested in these sci-fi name generators up here. And so you'll click through here and you'll pick stuff out. Now, I set up this document and I put in here my link and the ifschnits, and I've put a note here that the ifschnit names are being generated by the Cyberpunk Mail name generator. And I've just printed off 10 of them. And then you go in and you change things. If one just doesn't quite look right, you change it. The Asakar Japanese is Japanese female names. I felt those worked. But I went in here, and if anything was too reminiscent of Japanese, too familiar, I changed it. The Huma, I used Russian male names. I really felt that fit the character of the Huma. But anything that was too recognizable, too familiar, like Ivanovich or Sergeyevich or whatever, I went in and changed it. Bunsha names. The Bunsha, I used star names. Just generated a list of star names. Company names, place names. Again, anything that seemed out of place, didn't fit, I went in and changed it. Starship names. Now, I want to point out that we have all these dancer names. I added 2, Nebula Dancer and Stardust Dancer. In fact, I don't know if you can even read it. We should blow that up, shouldn't we? And, all right, maybe you can see that now. So we've got this Light of Intan Light Dancer and Vadai's Freedom Dancer. And then we also had the Rovan, number 6, Rovan Dancer. I added number 9 and 10, Nebula Dancer, Stardust Dancer. And I've decided that having Dancer on the end of a ship name is kind of like Serena Dawn in the Frontier. That a lot of ships have Dawn added to their, Nebula Dawn, Serena Dawn, Stardust Dawn, those are names I've used. But over here in the Rim, prior to them contacting the Frontier, the rest of the Frontier, they use the word Dancer. So you get a lot of these Nebula Dancer and Stardust Dancer, and that's the dawn of the UPF is Dancer in the Rim. And this is probably more focused within the Capellan Free Merchants that you see these Dancer names. So alias and nicknames. This is the Netrunner handles. So you go into the Cyberpunk and you're printing up the Netrunner handles, and anything that doesn't fit, you change. Like Moriarty, Dark Mirage, Neon Lowjack, Serial Blank, and Quantum Chip. I thought these are great handles, great nicknames. Then there's a list of jobs. These are jobs that would be handled in space. And then we do the Cyberpunk jobs. These are more jobs positioned on the planet. And then I did corporate problems. Just generated a list of those and put them in here. So this is my list, and I generated this from the Don John tools. So you'll just, Google Don John random generator, and you'll find this. But I'll have a link in the show notes. And I'll also have a link to all those YouTube videos that I kind of audited and took notes from. Now, these were world maps that I generated in those Don John tools for, Planet Generator. And once you generate one, you can then switch between the templates. This is spherical. And then here's the classic traveler hex map. I had to do a hex overlay on this map myself. But I plan on adding in locations on here on Tazan because that's the planet, the Crixia system I'm limiting myself to. I then went to Google Earth, And I snapped some screenshots, and I did it to, this is actually Albuquerque Airport, believe it or not. And I've photoshopped this, and I've added a lot of greenery just to obscure the rest of the town that's on that side of the airport. Because what I really wanted was this settlement over here on this bluff. And I'm calling this Taser's Landing. And so, of course, you can do 3D or 2D views in Google Earth. I've photoshopped this a little bit, adding crops. And so you see my legend here. You've got the old landing strip, warehouses, bees. All the bees are food processing. F is corporate housing. That's for your executives, your higher ups. D is the water tower. E is workers housing. G is the commercial district. And I was here on the map, and I just kept it in. It's the entertainment complex. And I just figured we have Asakar. They have a ability to mimic. They would be into singing. So, there's an entertainment complex, partly because of the presence of the Asakar. This is a mixed species colony. And I wasn't completely satisfied with that map, and I added a D here on this map. It's the outpost administration. So just one more little extra detail in this map that was not in the previous. I did a detailed map of the entertainment complex. I'm calling it the Piscataqua Entertainment Complex. Piscataqua is the name of a river here in Maine. Just like that. I've always liked that name. Piscataqua. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. But I've done a detailed map with locations here for this complex. I found a vineyard. What I'm calling a vineyard, this could be an orchard, who knows, somewhere near Albuquerque. And I've done this. This will get some more Photoshop and some more details added. Look, I'll put numbers on the map to identify what's what. I've also screenshotted some farms. I'll be photoshopping those, adding crops, adding some snow, since Tazan is on the outer edge of the inhabitable limit for that K5 star of Crixia. And so these are the tools that I've set up. And so here's my player character sheet. I didn't even bring out dice. I brought up a random number generator in the web browser. Told it generate numbers between 1 and 100, and I just started putting in I checked the table, put in the stats. Originally, that was 35 strength and stamina. I was like, ooh, that's a little low. Luckily, because I chose an Asakar, it's got a +5 bump, so I'm okay with the 40. You get a +5 bump to dexterity, reaction speed. I had a 45 from consulting the table after rolling. I had a 45 intelligence and logic. There's no modification from the Asakar species ability modifiers. But I transferred 1 point from intuition to logic. And that's just because when you're doing a lot of 1/2 your ability score plus 10% per level, I wanted the numbers to be easy to add. There is no functional difference between that 44 and that 46. Really, it's 42 or a 22 or a 23, but just the numbers are slightly easier to number crunch on the brain. So I just did that for my convenience. Asakar have a -10 to their personality leadership scores because they're so weird looking. I rolled an 86, I think. I rolled. Where's my piece of paper? It's around there somewhere, which came out to 60, which then modified down to 50. That's still a pretty respectable leadership personality score. And I began working off of the Asakar linguist archetype in Star Frontiersman number 15. But I have gone in for, so I have a psychosocial PSA, biosocial PSA. I've gone in for environmental 1, And that's leveraging the fact that environmentalists find it very easy to get jobs in the Crixia system. The Crixians, whether on Pyconar or on Tazan, have a problem with the Crixian roach. It is an invasive species. It has migrated via starships, via shuttles from Pyconar to Tazan. And by decree, all cargoes leaving Pyconar or Tazan must go through Crixia Station, which is the trade station orbiting Tazan. Before your ship takes off, it must be inspected by an environmentalist, sweeping it, looking for the Crixian roach. And then you must dock at Crixia Station. The ship is swept again. And then the cargo can be transshipped to a starship. Generally, only shuttles land on the planets because of this process, because it's just, it is what it is. But if you bring a hull size 3, hull size 4, hull size 5 ship down, it's a really stringent screening. So, you would only do that like if your ship was damaged and you just need to bring it down to have it worked on. Then you got to put up with this. But by and large, most captains will not. They'll avoid landing in the Crixia system and just use shuttles. And if you can pass through the Crixia system without actually making physical contact with either planet or the trade station, then you don't have to have a certification to say that you were screened. But you will get scrutiny when you arrive in either of the two systems that border Crixia. So my character has environmental skill because I knew that would leverage her ability to get an easy job and make money. Psychosocial was because I was thinking about the Ossicar linguists and leveraging the psychosocial communications aspect of the skills. And then because it's a solo game and any combat's going to be on me, beam weapons. She's got beam weapons. And, smattering of equipment, 25 credits, a free sonic stunner, doze grenade knife, and a sky suit. She's not starting with much, but she is starting with a little bit more in skills. I've made a decision concerning Ossicar names. Her name is Oasa, but her last name is Pyrene, P-I apostrophe, capital R-E-E-N, Pyrene. And the other inhabitable planet in the system is Pyconar, P-I apostrophe, capital K-A apostrophe, N-O-I-R, or something along those lines is how it's spelled. And I've decided that the PI, that's an Ossicar naming convention, that when you see that in an Ossicar name, that's a reference to either their line, since every Ossicar is an exact duplicate of its parent within their lineage, or that is the name of the parent. So you can track family relationships. So Oasa's parents' name, mother's name would be Pi. And that somebody, is apparently a fairly common name, and that whoever discovered Pyconar was an Ossicar with that Pi in their name as well. So that's a decision I made just as I was developing the player character here. Now, in all of the recommendations from all the videos, one of the constants was that almost everybody said the Mythic GM Emulator seemed to get high praise or recommendation for its use as an Oracle. I have that coming, but it's not here. And I kind of want to just sit down and read it and digest it and master it before I play with it so that I'm not kind of fumbling and bumbling. So for that reason, the next video will be a test game using ChatGPT as my Oracle. And I think ChatGTP holds a lot of promise in this, and I think that there's a lot of possibilities. But we're going to try to explore what the limitations of ChatGTP are for this type of gaming. Can it work? Will it work? That sort of thing. So this is Tom signing out with your series on solo Star Frontiers. We will be doing other videos and even attempting to run a classic commerce game where you take in the ship, buying cargo, take it to another star system, sell it, see if you can pay off that banknote. And I guess you lose in that game if you ever get too low on money that you can't buy fuel, buy a cargo. So that would be the fail. But we will see if we can't pay off a banknote with a commerce campaign run potentially with ChatGTP. But that's down the road. So this is Tom signing out for Star Frontiers Gamer and Tabletop Taproom. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks to my subscribers. You guys are great. Don't forget, like, subscribe, bell icon, and I will see you in the frontier.